CQ. This is Mike Zero Alpha Uniform Golf, calling all members and friends of the Denby Dale Radio Society for the Thursday evening night. Not many of us on this evening, and we'll see how it goes. Mike and Adriana are on with us. They're holidaying over in northern Germany, somewhere near the North Sea, and they can't get an internet connection, so they won't be with us tonight. I'll also advance notice that next week I'm not going to be in the chair, and I've got a personal engagement with Jeff. I'll give him a break, and the tango will be taking me next week. So thank you in advance there, Jeff. Okay, we'll see how the night goes in this evening as to how long we stay on. And we'll go to the top of the list. Up to Scotland there with my Mike 7, Bravo, Foxtrot, Leo. Good evening, Laura. M0AUG in the group. Nothing goes from Laura there. Let's just try it once more. Mike 7, Bravo, Foxtrot, Lima in the group, M0AUG. Good evening, Laura. Nothing out on that. There's nobody coming in through GB788 at the moment. And I noticed Paul Logs is logged on as well. G0TVB in the group. Yeah, joining us this evening or just listening, Paul? Over to you. Okay, nothing else from Paul there. Well, let's do that then. G4IWO in the group, M0AUG.
M0AUG in the group from G4IWO. Yes, good evening, Jeff, and good evening to those of us on the net this evening. And a big welcome, of course, to our live viewers on YouTube and also to those that watch this stream later in the week. And hope you enjoy even the very small numbers of members on the net this week. Probably, Jeff, worth saying that today is World Amateur Radio Day, and hopefully people are celebrating their involvement in amateur radio. I'll give some other updates in the next over, but just to say that one of the interesting speakers I'm setting up for the autumn is a very active shortwave listener who in fact comes from Britain, and she's the Secretary General of the European DX Council of shortwave listeners, and she also writes for shortwave magazines on a regular basis. So looking forward to her contribution. Since many radio amateurs got into the hobby of amateur radio through shortwave listening, both broadcast stations and others on the shortwaves. And talking to her yesterday, it was very interesting because she reminded me that what drew her into it was not just the excitement of radio, but also the fact that she was listening to people from all over the world and collecting QSL cards. And she just found that just a wonderful experience. So on that note, Jeff, I'll pass the microphone back to you. M0AUG in the group from G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group, M0AUG returning, and welcome also to the people who are listening to us on the YouTube channel, and also people who are picking up the internet later in the week. Absolutely right there, Nick. I came into the hobby in the 1980s on shortwave listening, and that brought me up to the stage of wanting to go for a license, and that's how it all progressed from there. So it'll be interesting to hear that talk and more information later on. Next on the list this evening so far is Dave. G6 and ZSN in the group. M0AUG. How's life down there in Taunton, Dave? Good evening. M0AUG in the group G6 ZSN. Can I first of all make a point to Laura? Don't forget to link to the reflector. Link to 305X. You forgot that last time. Hopefully that might just be what's causing you not to transmit. Yeah, not too bad here at the moment, thanks Jeff. I actually did a live install of my my rollover mast up on the hills, which worked extremely well, and I got it guide up to the car to my satisfaction. Was also helped by having very little wind, and tried to contact Andrew, ROL, on 40 meters, and for some reason my linear amp kept playing silly devils. It worked absolutely fine on the lower bands, didn't try it on any of the higher bands, saying high resistance, but same aerial, and as soon as I dropped it, it said high resistance. I actually put up an amp probe and got the same thing. Well, that's second hand from Martin H, so I'm going to give it a try up here tomorrow, providing I've got some spare time, and if it does the same thing up here, I shall give them a ring and see what they say, because it sounds to me a bit like it's faulty. I'll also try it on the higher band, see what happens there. Other than that, not a lot happening here. The sun's been beautiful at long last, very little rain, and it's nice to be going into spring at long last. M0AUG in the group G6 ZSN. G6 ZSN, the group M0AUG chatting. Okay then, Evan, thanks for joining this evening, and I hope the information you put through to Laura there might help her to join the net this evening. And yeah, well, as far as this is concerned, in the northwest of England, we've got one of the largest one-day amateur radio rallies in the country. On at in Blackpool this weekend on Sunday at the Norbury Castle Hotel there, and in fact the Denby Dale Amateur Radio Society will be having a stand there, which they have done in previous years, and presumably Gerald will be in charge of that one. So I look forward to meeting up with them again over there. I'm a member of the Thornton Cleavers Amateur Radio Society as well up in this area, and obviously that's the local club over here. So I look forward to catching up with a few of my colleagues over there. Obviously with personal conditions just recently, I've not been able to get to any of the meetings, etc. But nevertheless, I've paid my subs. So we'll see what the rally's like there. It's usually a very good attendance, but it's a rally mainly about radio clubs. And if you look at the nasa.org.uk, you'll see with the people attending there. It's quite a goodly crowd there, but not too many in the terms of traders. But obviously the whole thing is about clubs getting together and they're displaying their wares and whatever. Okay, over to you there, Jeff, in Belgium. Oscar November 8, November Tango in the group. M0AG, good evening, Jeff. Hope all is well.
Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf, the group of 8 November Tango. Very good evening to you, Jeff, and to everyone here on the group, and to our YouTube viewers. Also a very good evening to you there, wherever you are. Very interesting. We had about 10 degrees, and the weather has been reasonable today, but we had a lot of rain, thunder, and storm during the last couple of days. The weekend was brilliant, 24 degrees on Saturday, but the rest of the week was, not so interesting. And a happy World Amateur Radio Day to everyone. Yeah, I saw some stations on the band with that kind of call sign, but I was not aware that it was actually today. And okay, Nick, about the shortwave listening, I think I know the lady. She has probably written for a radio user which doesn't exist anymore, or is integrated into practical wireless. And I think I think of her name, but I can imagine I was always reading her columns. Actually, she wrote different articles and columns in every issue of Radio User. I think that's probably the lady you are talking about. And I've also entered into the hobby through shortwave listening when I was 12, 13, 40 years old, something like that. So that was also my way to get then into the hobby. And okay, Dave, about your problems, not so pleasant, of course. Yeah. Well, I will come back to some radio news here in my shack on the next over, but I put the microphone back to you, Jeff, Mike Zero AUG, the group of an 8 November Tango. And I see that Bob in the States is appearing. So back to you, Jeff.
1 8 November Tango in the group M08U turning. Yes, I've just noticed that Bob's appeared on there. It's just in time to go over there. So we'll come back to you, Jeff, on your other information later on. So we'll go straight over to Bob. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango in the group. Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf. Good evening, Bob, and hope all is well with you.
Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf. Good evening, Jeff, and good evening to the rest of the group. The only one I've heard so far, of course, is you and the other Jeff. The appointments held me up today, so I got on a bit late. But to begin my report, we had an excellent trip to Nova, West Virginia, and I think that I might have put a note out on Denby Dale. I did well. I ran the new LiPo battery, ran the antenna up to the top of an old barn that Jim has on his property, down to the boot of my vehicle. Worked quite a bit of Canada and the United States. Only got one overseas contact, and that was into Italy. So I was only using 10 watts. It was probably using 10,000 watts. But at any rate, we made it a two-way. So I even got a two-way out of it. And the eclipse, it was very interesting. It was slower than just a slice of the moon where I was when it was fully closed, and then it opened up again. And the entire process, I would say, I don't have a record of it, but it was around 4 hours. The entire process, by the time it covered over and the time it opened up again. And someone, I believe it was Fraser, had asked me if I had a thermometer with me to check the temperatures. Well, I didn't have a thermometer with me, but I can tell you that when the moon was almost fully eclipsed, it got cooler there. I can tell you that. We'll talk more about my radio when we next go around. Thanks for picking me up, Jeff, and we'll see what's happening for the other participants on this go around. Back to you, Jeff. M0 AUG with the group, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango.
November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango with the group M0 AUG. That's great, Bob. And just to let you know, I've actually subscribed to the Battleship YouTube channel, so I'm obviously getting all the updates coming through from there. So thank you for introducing that to us. Radio-wise, not too much to report this week. We had an Hilton Day on last Saturday at the Oldham Radio Club, and that was successful. And also Adrian G6MJQ was as well. We made a contact down to South Africa there, and we obviously we were very, very pleased to work the station down there. So Tom, very, very good for you, and we were pleased to work the station. And that was just using 100 watts, but we were down at the Oldham Radio Club with the big station down there with the big antenna and just 100 watts out of the radio. So I'm very, very pleased about that, and I encouraged Adrian to get on there as well and put a call in. So Tom should have 2 Denby Dale contacts in his log for this week. Excellent job. Back over to you, and we'll see if Laura's coming in this evening. Mike 7, Bravo Foxtrot Lima in the group. M0 AUG, good evening, Laura. M7 BFL in the group M0AG. Nothing heard from Laura. I don't know whether it's appropriate, Dave, for you to have an offline email with Laura. You were discussing that earlier. She's obviously connected there, but nothing coming through there. So we'll leave that over for now. And back over to you for further information there, Nick. G4IW in the group, M0AEG.
Yes, M0AEG in the group from G4IWO. Yeah, first of all, to Jeff, you're quite right. The person who I've got to come and speak in the club early in the autumn is Chrissy Brand, who, and you're quite correct, she wrote a regular column in Radio User, which is now no longer published, but it's been incorporated into Practical Wireless. And it was fascinating talking to her because, like you said, Jeff, and others on the call this evening, many of us got into the hobby through shortwave listening. And of course, there are still around people. We've got a couple in our club who are still shortwave listeners who've never got their amateur radio license, but get a lot of pleasure in tuning around the shortwave bands and listening to who they can pick up in other countries. And I'm one of those, like you, Jeff, who at the age of 11 years old took a small medium wave radio to bits, managed to change the coil so that it moved a bit further down from medium wave into the shortwave bands, and listened to AM 160 meter radio amateurs and also some other shortwave stations as well. And that was what drew me into the hobby after a conversation with my dad about who these people were I was listening to chatting on the radio. So, yeah, I think it'll be a nice reminder to us all about where we started. And of course, next week in the club, we have a speaker on the fact that we are celebrating next week the 150th anniversary of the birth of Marconi. And it's Marconi, of course, who is obviously one of the drivers behind radio and shortwave radio transmissions. And for Dave down there in the southwest, of course, the historic location of Poldhu in Cornwall, making that contact across the Atlantic over to United States. So very much looking forward to that talk next week. Just to agree with the comments about the weather in the last few days, we've had dreadful weather here in my location up in the southern Pennines. We started off a few days with some sunshine. That was pleasant. Not very warm though, very, very cold wind. And that's given way to awful squally rain and hail and even a bit of sleet the other day. And in fact, last night the temperature was -1 degrees, -1 when I woke up this morning at 6 o'clock. So it's been not terribly good and very disappointing. I was also very pleased on Wednesday, and I posted this in the WhatsApp group, and I have got a little video that I'll post on the YouTube channel as well once I've properly downloaded it, listening to the International Space Station when it went over the southern tip of the UK, where they were making a contact. The astronaut was making, US astronaut was making a contact with a primary school in Lyme Regis in Dorset. And of course, I couldn't hear the primary school on my handheld radio outside, but I could hear the astronaut very clearly and the conversation they were having. And as always, it's really fascinating to listen to astronauts communicating as they're whizzing around the world at an incredible speed. I was tracking the flight of the International Space Station, and it kind of reminds you how fast it's moving. When I saw it about 10 minutes before it came over the horizon here in the UK and the radio signal started to come through, I saw it literally crossing Mexico. So in Mexico, the space station got close to and coming over the UK, literally only 10 or 12 minutes having passed across Mexico. So that tells you, of course, it's a reminder to us of how fast it's operating. So back to you, Jeff. M0 AUG in the group, G4. Oh, just before I do, sorry, Jeff, just a good evening to Andy, 2 Echo 0, Romeo Echo Echo, who's popped up on the YouTube channel. And of course, congratulations, Jeff, to you and to AD for your contacts with Tom, ZS1AFS down in South Africa. Back to you, Jeff. M0 AUG in the group from G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group M0AUG returning, and yes, good evening, Andy, on the YouTube group there, and hope you enjoy the evening listening to our chat here. It's very interesting, actually. I think when you go back in time, you think how you came into the hobby. I came into it. I don't know. I probably started with the Army Cadet Force at school, and then spent a bit of time in the Royal Signals. And short wave listener back into the 80s, after you had the usual gap for, establishing a home and bringing up a family, etc. And that's how I got back into it again. And obviously, I'm a life member of the Royal Signals Amateur Radio Society, and I enjoy that as well. But it's just interesting to hear how we made progress on that. Talking about the space station, the Oldham Radio Club used to have one of the not as big as NASA, but we used to also have quite a lively rally, a one-day rally in Oldham every year. And at one stage, we actually managed to get 2,000 people through the door on one particular day. And Jeff G0BJR, who was the president of the Oldham Radio Club, he used to run the talk stations, which we ran from the club premises higher up on the in Oldham, getting towards the top there. And he was putting out calls there to direct people into the rally, etc., etc. And he got a call from one of the astronauts there. And obviously, it was interesting for him to have the contact there. I'm not sure whether it's a space station or just one of the astronauts going around in something else. But we always used to have a competition at the Oldham Radio Club where we used to send a little gift to the person who'd come in the furthest to the contact station during the day. And after the rally, Jeff turned to me and said, I don't know where we're sending the prize to this year. So that was interesting as well. So that's going back quite a long way. And it's interesting to know that quite a lot of the traders who are coming this weekend to the Blackpool rally were in fact customers of ours at the Oldham rally, going back into the 90s and the early 2000s. So that's enough waffle on that one. So over to you there, Dave. G6 has ever set in the group. M0AUG.
0AUG in the group, G6ZSN. Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for your commiserations, and I will get to the bottom of this milliram problem. It could be something very, very stupid, but surprised it did it on 2 different antennas. But it'll either go back to Martin or I'll find out what's wrong. With regard to getting into ham radio, I was never a listener. I was on CB when it became legal. Used to use it to talk to my wife when I was leaving places or taking people home. Even back then, I took people home. And we had an aerial on a tin in the front room. And in the end, I put up a proper vertical and had the men from the ministry come round because it was causing TVI. But I got on with the guy and we discussed it, and I took the aerial down and he gave me a TVI thing for myself, and we both ended up quite happy. And then the idiots started getting on CB, and I took my RE in 1982, I think it was, so probably near the same time as yourself, Jeff. And until Andrew came round, I'd never tried HF or never succeeded with HF. I did try once, but an abysmal failure and sold all my equipment. Wish I'd kept it now. It would be worth a bit more money. It looks very similar, like my experiments up on the hills using the diamond will work very well. So I'm going to do that a lot more, especially in the summer. The only trouble is the other day the bands were fairly dead apart for a 40, and that was absolutely hammered with hands all over the place. And Andrew and I were trying to find an open frequency and having a hard job. But I'll give it another try, as I say, tomorrow, and then go up and try the other bands, see how they go one day next week. M0AUT in the group, G6ZSN.
G6ZSN in the group, M0AUT. Yes, fine in that, Dave, and yeah, thanks. It's good to look back, actually, so how people got back into the hobby. I know I had, quite a break between the early, I don't know what it would be, early 70s, I would guess, until the early 80s. And when I came back in and joined the RSGB in 1981, that's right, because I've been a member now for 43 years continuously. The first thing I did was, I was never into CB, as I bought myself a trio R600 receiver. I'm used to listening to the shortwave. In those days, at that particular time, you could literally just, put it on the table, connect the antenna in there, and it was wall to wall, Americans and Canadians coming over there. And that's what really got me into the hobby until I started to take the RE in 1990. So you have to look back on these things, it's important. Over to you there, Jeff. What's going to remember 8 November Tango in the group, M0AEG?
M0AUG, the group called 8 November Tango, and a very good evening to Andy on the YouTube channel, and to you also, Bob. Nice that you made it in good condition back home, and very interesting about your story about the eclipse. That's brilliant. And also your contacts only with Italy, that's a little pity, but anyway, conditions have not been that good, I think, during the last couple of days, so that's probably one of the reasons. And congratulations, Jeff, on working Tom in Sierra Land on the open day. That's really brilliant. That's really very good. I really want to work with Tom one day with my little pistol. I hope that will work. And absolutely true, Nick, that was Chrissy Brandt. I remember the name now again. I read her articles and reports and so on. She was a very, very enthusiastic, motivated lady to follow all these short day happenings all over the world. She traveled a lot to conferences and so on. Very, very interesting. And okay, about the International Space Station, now I had a heavy thunderstorm and lightning and heavy rain at the moment that it was passing over. So I took my tablet and went to the Gunhili web SDR, so I could follow that on my tablet, and very happy to join that always. I really find that a fascinating story. Yeah, radio-wise, I have been in the IG interest group, RTTY contest conditions. Not so good last weekend, but anyway, I made some 86 contacts, just search and pounds, not, and in between other activities. And conditions were not that good, but yesterday evening, around 11 o'clock, my local time, on 70 meters, I worked a bunch of Japanese stations, really very strong. Yeah, that was really fascinating. So one Japanese after the other on FT8, of course, but anyway, really happy to do that. And this morning, I was quite early up because my wife had to go to a course, and I worked some VK stations on 70 meters again. 50 meters was not that good, 20 meters was not good either, but on 70 meters there were some VK stations that I could work, and also Romeo India Zero Papa Oscar Lima, which was in in the north on a ship, a research ship. It seems to be in the Barents Sea there somewhere. So in Juliet Romeo 90, that was his locator. Okie-do, and radio-wise, my shortwave starting, I will tell about that in the next over. So back to you, Jeff, Mike Zero, AUG, the group of 8 November Tango.
Well, 8 November Tango in the group, M0AG, turning a fine on that, Jeff. And I remember Chrissy Brand, who used to write a lot in the old magazines, radio user. I think one of the magazines even before that. And she was based in the Manchester area, although I never actually met her. But literally she used to go all over the place reporting on shortwave listening and this sort of thing. So that should be a very interesting talk there, I think. And very interesting indeed. And it was good to talk with Tom. It was only a brief contact because the conditions weren't that good. And we got the aerial up to the TH11DX up to about 20 feet. 60 feet and 20 meters. And we were only actually putting 100 volts out through the FT DX3000 radio there. But it's still a good contact. And after I made the contact, I encouraged Eddie to go on there and so that he could make the contact as well. And I think he was a bit reluctant initially to go on with HF on that distance, but with a bit of persuasion he made it, and I'm so glad he did, because he was very, very pleased afterwards. But I've got a reputation for sticking people on there, so there we are, under exception there. Over to you there, Bob. November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango in the group, M0AG.
Zero AUG in the group, November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango. I'm scribbling all over this page, so we'll start out with the way I started out. I started out in the 1940s doing World War II. Our family had a Gruno teledial receiver which had 4 bands, and of course I used to listen to the propaganda frequently on shortwave. And later, I got interested in LF, where there were beacons from airports. And of course, I couldn't identify them until I learned a bit of Morse code. And of course, that Morse code is only 5 words a minute, so it's pretty easy to learn and remember. I started listening to beacons and then figuring out where the airports were. And at different times of year, I could pick up different airfields from further and farther away. So that's the way I got started. Later on, very later on, in 2012, I did operate from Poldhu. I operated from the ham station there, and now that they have a Poldhu. The original that station that I worked at, that station that they have there now was built in 2001. But there is a marker where Marconi's station was on that site. And Cornwall is one of the most beautiful areas of the UK that I've been in. I can't believe the waterfront there and the way the water comes in and so forth. It is beautiful, and I wish that I could get back there. But by the looks of it, my traveling days, I think, are coming to an end. I have quite a bit here, but I was lucky enough when I got home to be able to download and watch Harold WJ1B to watch his presentation. Sounds very interesting. I'm sorry I couldn't be there live for the original. I probably would have thrown in a few comments also, and I'll give you more in the next go around. So back to you, Jeff. M0AUG with the group, November 4, X-ray Alpha Tango.
November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango, Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf return to the group. Yeah, that's fine there, Bob. I've been down to Poldhu, and very, very worthwhile for the visit. I wouldn't mind going there again, but I've not been there for a while. But it was certainly interesting to go and look at the sign there, look at the monument, and go into the clubhouse there and look at some of the presentations. And that's where we go back to, isn't it? And that's what it's all about. And very interesting. A lot of things going back in the hobby where we just need to just revisit them and remind ourselves of what's going on in communications generally. Now, the other thing that happened when we were down in Cornwall, we went to the station, and just Porthcurno, that's what. We went to the station at Porthcurno when the transatlantic cables were actually put out to go across the sea to the US. And that was a very, very interesting exhibition down there. And the people were absolutely great. Whether it's still there or not, I don't know. But one of my QSL cards went to the actual fact on the notice board at the Porthcurno. So again, all these things start to come back to you once you start talking about the history and where we all came from in this hobby. I'll just give Paul a call. He wasn't been connected for a while. I don't know if he was let's come in, I was just listening there. G0TVB in the group, M0AG. Are you joining us this evening, Paul, or just listening? With you? Nothing else from Paul. G0TVB is virtually permanently linked to the net here from one of Paul's dongles. So sometimes he comes in, sometimes he doesn't. That's absolutely fine. Over to you there, Laura, if you can still receive us and you want to come in. Mike 7, Bravo, Foxtrot Lima in the group. Mike 0, Alpha Unit 1 Golf.
Jeff.
G6ZF.
Jeff, I did email her, but she hasn't replied, so I'm not sure what's happened.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. We'll move on down the group. That's G6 Edison in the group, M0AG. Okay, over to you then, G4IW in the group, M0AG.
Yeah, M0AUG in the group from G4IWO. Yeah, Laura has popped up on the YouTube channel saying good evening all. She's shortwave listening tonight and welcomed the net and wished us all a happy amateur radio day. So thanks very much for that, Laura. And to Bob out in the States, what I can tell you, Bob, is that Ken has been very inspired by Harold's talk at the club on POTA and is desperate to get out into a local park to him to operate some radio. But it's just the weather that's held him back in the last week. Like myself, I was thinking about going out on Wednesday. It was nice and sunny in the morning. There was a bit of a wind and I was a bit anxious about how high the wind would be a few hundred more feet up from the location here where I live. But I'm so glad I didn't risk it because in the afternoon when I was planning to go out there about 12:30, the clouds went very black and suddenly we had the most torrential heavy hailstorm and it got exceptionally cold and very, very wet. So I'm very lucky that I hadn't gone up and set myself out on the radio on Wednesday. But Ken, by the way, Bob, said that he thought Harold's talk was the best one we've had so far in Denby Dale. So that shows you how much he's been inspired by that discussion. And as just going back to my start into the hobby through shortwave listening, I had an old valve radio, medium and shortwave valve radio that used to exist, produced I think probably in the 40s and the 50s. And I used to listen to that, but I could obviously hear Morse code on the amateur frequencies. So with assistance from my dad, I built a small beat frequency oscillator to fit inside it so I could actually properly listen to Morse code. And that's how I started on my journey of learning and using Morse code. And then my dad helped me build a 3-valve regenerative shortwave receiver that tuned, I think, from 40 up to 20 meters. And that was great fun for several years. Again, that was a valve radio. And anyone who remembers the old regenerative receiver, it was very, very, very good, but it was quite tricky, wasn't it, to use it and get it to exactly the right point to listen to the sound coming through. And to Jeff in Belgium, you don't need me to tell you this, but almost certainly your best prospects of making a QSO to Tom down in South Africa is going to be on 10 meters. 10 meters is such when the band is open, and Tom has said it's had a lot of openings to the UK and to Europe. When 10 meters is open, that's undoubtedly going to be the best band with your setup, your little pistol setup, Jeff, at home there. That's going to be the best band to get that QSO with Tom. And just before handing the microphone back, just a reminder to listeners tonight on the net that the club has now set up its for sale and wanted page on the Denby Dale website. That's on DDARS, Delta Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.net. And you'll see the button at the top for the club wanted and for sale page. And we've got a couple of adverts on there. I won't say who they are. Go and find them yourself if you're interested. But there's some good things that are up there for sale through the club. Only club members can advertise, but obviously it's open to anyone to go and have a look and to use the club for sale wanted page. So back to you, Jeff. M0AUG. Oh, hold on a second. Very quickly, Roger, G4UFZ from the club, has just popped onto the chat saying he's got no digital facility, but he's got a few minutes spare to listen in tonight. So welcome to you, Roger. Good to see you on the YouTube listening to the net tonight. So back to you, Jeff. M0AUG in the group, G4IWO.
G4IWO, Group M0AUG returning. Yeah, thanks for that, Nick, and good evening, Roger, and welcome to the net on the YouTube channel, and also to you, Laura. Absolutely fine if you just want to listen to the net on that. That's great as well. As long as we get people tuning into what Denby Dale does, and that's what it's all about. And I think it's your first time, isn't it, Roger? So, for those who don't know, it's the Norbrek Rally at Blackpool this weekend, which on the Sunday is a one-day event, and it's probably the biggest one-day event in the northwest of England. And Denby Dale have got a stand there, which I'm assuming previous years, where obviously Gerald and his team tried to sell off equipment that has been donated to the club to assist with the club funds. So obviously I'll be there all day at the Norbrek Rally, visiting various people there, including Gerald, so hope that goes well. Over to you there, David. G6 in the group, M0AUG.
0AUG in the group, G6 Nice to hear that Laura is still monitoring anyway. And I know that a friend of mine, G6 LUU, is also helping. I hit a bit of a brick wall, and Laura agreed to go to Alan and seeing if he can work with her. Sorry, that sounds bad. I apologise, Laura, if he can help her. I'm tired, so I'm using that as an excuse. Had a couple of late nights, for me anyway. To the rest of you, they'd probably be very early nights, but things have been a bit hectic here lately, so I'm going to be taking it easy tomorrow. But that's about all from me, I'm afraid, at the moment. I haven't been on the radio very much at all. And with this video out, then that spoiled my day yesterday, so I'll keep trying and get up on the hills again. M0AUG in the group, G6 NSN.
G6 said, I said in the group, Ben was here returning fine on that day, and I noticed you mentioned Alan, G6 Lima uniform. He actually came up on the log sheet for the gateway, but he was logged into Module C for some reason. And I did send him an email a couple of days ago advising him that Module C was rarely used and giving him details of the nets for the Oldham Club on Module A and also Denby Dale on Module D. So next time you speak with Alan, maybe you can just point him in the right direction. And he's not come back to me since I sent the email to him, but obviously if he wants to come on the net, then absolutely good. And over to you there, Jeff. Oscar November 8, November Tango in the group. M0AUG.
M0AUG, the group 18 November Tango. And first of all, a very good evening to Laura and to Roger on the YouTube channel. Very nice that you are listening in. And thank you very much, Nick, for the tip about 10 meters. I really will look around for him and see how the propagation is going into the south. I think that should be improving during the summer probably. So I really want to try contact with him. And okay, all this week we are really down to the memory lane, so to say. Very interesting, all the experiences, and especially you, Bob, with your World War II starting and the LF beacons. I started when I was 11 or 12 years ago, old. On the other side of the street where I was living, there was an electrician, and he had a little shop, a repair shop. He was selling some bits and pieces, and I got a radio from him, a Volks or a tube radio, like you say in the States, with shortwave, and it was modified for the fishery band, for the maritime fishery band, which is around 2.5 megahertz plus minus there, because I was looking at the Belgian coast and there were quite a lot of people, fishery people living, and the families want to have such a radio, so he modified those valve radios. So I got one of the examples, one of these radios from him for free, which was brilliant. And I started my listening adventure to, also like Bob said, to propaganda. Even Radio Moscow and Radio South Africa had the transmissions into my native language, Dutch. I didn't know much foreign languages at that age, at 11 or 12 years old. But later, when I learned some languages at school, that became much more interesting to listening to Radio Australia, Radio New Zealand, and so on and so on. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I had different radios. I also had a trio R valve transducer, not the 600 like Jeff had, but an old, I think the trio 300 or something, which was radio amateurs only, and some other receivers. So I really, really enjoyed that. Okay, so that was really a big adventure into the hobby, and that really brought me into ham radio, because at the afternoon, listening to the 40-meter band and hearing the voices in AM in amplitude modulation, I asked my father, "What is that? What the hell is that?" And my father was not a ham, but he explained me what was happening there, and so I was lost. I really started there, and then on 80 meters I could hear some local nets and so on and so on. And yeah, Pota really enjoyed that talk also, and I'm in the process of preparing Pota a little bit, looking into that, see where the parks are. I have 3 parks in my village, so to say. Yeah. Well, is that the right word? Village? There are 30,000 people living here. But anyway, we have 3 parks, and we also have some castles. So there are a lot of opportunity to do that. And I'm in the process of setting up a station and looking to the rules and see for logging and so on and so on, and making a checklist to not forget whatever I would forget at my age each child. And so probably when the weather is better, we probably will do some tests and see how this will be going. And I will, of course, announce on the WhatsApp channel whenever I will be active. So back to you, Jeff. Mike Zero AUG, the group of 8 November Tango.
Well, I'm in the group M0 age returning. Yeah, it's just out of interest, Jeff. I think Tom tends to listen around 28.4, which is where we got him, I think, just plus or minus. But 28.4, I think, is the band where he tends to operate from, and that's where both Eddie and I picked him up on last Saturday. It was great to have the contact with him. It wasn't a long time because the band conditions weren't very good, and even with the GH11DX sort of defeat of the air, it wasn't brilliant, but great. We made the contact, and that was it. Over to you there, Bob. November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango in the group M0AEG.
0 Alpha Uncle George, this is November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango. First of all, congratulations, Jeff, on having a QSO with Tom. I haven't been able to do that yet. 10 meters is in and out here right now, but I was told just recently, coming through, it looks like I might not be coming through.
Yes, you're coming through, Bob, no problem at all.
M0.
For some reason here it's indicating I'm not, but as long as you can hear me, that's great. Let's see. Also, I was reading Nick and Fraser's comments on the ISS this morning. I found that interesting. Welcome aboard to Laura and Roger, who are watching on YouTube. My list is so long, I'm never going to get through it all. Nostalgia-wise, when the Navy, when I started out in the Navy, for receivers, we used the RB series. And the RB series with the power supply weighed more than I did. Well, when they went to the Hammerland SP600s, they issued the RB series to active hams. I got an RBC to start out with. And I now have the R390 here next to me, but the R390, it isn't Collins R390, but it is an R390. It doesn't do as well as my 745, so now we're going to shift over to POTA and the 745, the best receiver, I think, or best transceiver that I've ever owned, I think. When I got home, I decided that I wanted to try a little better with my FT8, a little more than 10 watts. So I purchased the Zydu XPA 125B. And yesterday, I really haven't had a lot of time to play with it. But yesterday, I made 3 FT8 contacts using about 30 watts with the Zydu. So I'm happy with that so far. We'll see how that goes. Also, this weekend, I played just a bit trying to tune the RIDI on my 705, and I did well. I did well receiving it on the 705. I haven't tried to transmit. Last time I transmitted in the MTTY, I can't tell you when it was, but it was using MMTTY at that time, as I remember. I'm going to just rekey here. Total-wise, since I've been home, I haven't done a lot. I've done a little bit. I'm up to about 745 different entities, and that includes now 10 countries, or 10 entities, as they call it. So I'm doing well there. In the morning, I have about 341 contacts, and I have over 20 contacts with 3 separate parks. So you can't believe how easy it is, though, to get an award. If you like awards, I have about 20 awards now from POTA, and basically I've been doing it since November. So I can't really complain. They're easy to download. Some of them, instead of giving you a new award, they just change the old award and change it, the number on it. But for the number of contacts to different parks, they do give you different awards every 100, and so I have 7 of those. So I'm really happy with that. Let's see if the other thing, people were talking about the weather. We had like summer weather here until today. And today our high, it's not bad, it's 11 Celsius, but it's much cooler. It was like summer for several days before that. And with that, back to you, Jeff, and thank you for running the net. Now for call signs, my goodness. Mike 0 Alpha Uncle George, November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango.
November 4 X-ray Alpha Tango in the group. Mike 0 Alpha Uncle George returning now, Canada Bob. Yeah. The other thing that we've got going in the UK at the moment, there's a program called Bunkers on the Air for the old, wartime bunkers. And I was having a couple of coffees this afternoon with 3 other amateurs in the local area who've been starting to activate these bunkers. So that's something else to look forward to, bunkers on the air as opposed to parks on the air. So there we go. Thanks for your contribution there, Bob, on that one. Okay, I think it's probably time with a small number on the net if we start to pass it around for finals. And thanks to everybody for contributing this evening to the live net. Obviously, we're a bit short on numbers with Mike and Adriana being away, and Keith from Scotland hasn't come in this evening, or Andrew ROL. So we'll see where we go from there. Of course, Fraser's not been with us. So we've done very well. We've been on the air for nearly an hour, and it's been a super net. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions there. So we'll go around and take it from the top, and then see where the net's up to for tonight. G4IWO in the group, M0AUG.
Yes, M0AUG in the group from G4IWO. Yeah, interesting discussion, even though we haven't got a massive number on the net this evening. Yeah, you're right, first of all, about Blackpool on Sunday. Gerald G3SDY is running the stall there, so I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you there on Sunday. I'm not able to get across myself, so won't meet you there, Jeff, unfortunately. As to radio conditions at the moment, the solar flux index is now quite high today. I noticed it was up to 217. So we've got, a large amount of ionization, which is going to lead to some decent propagation. So I think there is going to be some good possibilities for you, Jeff, making that contact to Tom. And the frequency 28400 is where Tom looks out for. And he does get put on the DX cluster a lot as well. So if you search for his call sign, you'll see him pretty quickly. Just to Bob out in the States there, my first proper commercial radio, and it was huge, was the old Marconi CR100, which was extremely heavy, but worked very, very well indeed. I very much enjoyed listening on that radio when I got that, and that was a super bit of equipment. And of course, Marconi, they started a factory in Essex, in Chelmsford, near to where I used to live before moving up to here. And they had a fabulous display at a museum in Chelmsford, the Sanford Mill Museum, and they had a reconstruction of the radio room on the Titanic, and they also had a whole section on the birth of live entertainment, radio entertainment, which was based in from the Marconi premises and their equipment and antennas based in Chelmsford. But all that is gone, and sadly, even I was reading today that the museum itself has closed down. But I'm sure we'll have a great discussion next week about Marconi on the meeting next week. And just one other person before I pass the microphone back, and thank you, Jeff, for your sharing again of the net tonight and the great contributions as always to our discussion. Kevin, Mike Whiskey Zero Charlie Papa Alpha has wished everyone on the net this evening good evening on YouTube, and thank you for joining us, Kevin. Hope you're enjoying it. So back to you, Jeff. M0AUG in the group from G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group M0AG returning. Yes, fine and all that, Nick, and look forward to catching up with Gerald and Co. on Sunday morning there. And thanks for the person who's just given us the good wishes. I'm sorry, I've just forgotten the name there, Nick. And also to Laura and to Roger, who've been listening in on the YouTube channel, and anybody else who know we've enjoyed the net. And for those of you who are licensed, do come on the net and join us sometime, please. It's been a small net tonight because some of our regulars have got other things on, as happens. And same with me next weekend. Jeff Hoskin and Emma Tango is kind of taking the group next Thursday evening. Over to you for your finals there, Dave. G6 is, as I said, in the group. M0AEG.
M0AEG in the group, G6 LSN. Once again, thanks very much for running the net, Jeff, and I hope everything goes fine for you next week. And look forward to having covered, Jeff, chairing us. I'm going to say good night because I've got nothing else to say. And have a good week, everyone, and hopefully the weather will stay fine for you all. 10-3s, and hopefully catch you next Thursday. Golf 6 Zulu Sierra November, back to Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf.
G6 LSN in the group M0AG returning. Yes, fine and that, Dave, and thanks for joining the net this evening. It's always appreciated. So 7-3 to you, and I'll look forward to catching up with you in a couple of weeks. Over to you for your final, Jeff. 1st November 8 November, Tango in the group M0AEG.
Mike 0, Alpha Uniform Golf, the group in 8 November Tango, and a very good evening also to Kevin on YouTube. Very nice to catch up with you, Kevin. That's brilliant. And thank you, Jeff, for the frequency about Tom 28.4. I will take a look there and look and follow a little bit the propagation and see what could be possible. Well, if you want to do some RTTY, one of the programs I'm using for RTTY is FLDG, and FLDG is a wonderful program. You can decode facts, weather stations. You can do PSK31. You can do different digital communication, keyboard to keyboard mode. So that's really very interesting program, I think. And you can also participate in contest. There is a small contest possibility in there, so you can get some points and so on and so on. And okay, about the bunkers on the air, well, we do still have some bunkers here after World War II. We still do, and World War I, not to forget World War I. We do still have some bunkers, or some what remains of bunkers anyway. So that might be also something to take a look. And by the way, one of the receivers I had was a Racal R17 Lima, I think, which has a brilliant VLF adapter or converter, or how do you call that? That was something on top of the receiver, and that was so as sharp as a knife. Actually, you went from well, maybe 10 kc to 1 megahertz, and that was really to listen to VLF beacons and to the VLF frequencies down around 30 and 50 and 60 kilohertz there, and also to medium wave peak. So that's really a brilliant receiver, and British made, by the way. Okay, I would say, Jeff, thank you very much for being the chair this evening. I will be there next week, no trouble at all, and wish you all a very good evening, or a very good day to you, Bob, in the States, and I hope to catch you all again somewhere here on the net, or maybe earlier on the band, who knows. Mike 0 AUG, the group, for an 8 November Tango.
Well, in November Tango in the group M0AG returning. Okay, there, Jeff, that's absolutely fine, and hope you managed to get contact down to Bob there, to Tom there on 28.4. It was certainly worthwhile for the effort there, and I think Eddie was so pleased that he actually made it. because he's only recently been coming back into the hobby in the last 12 months, and I think to actually get him going on HF contacts was quite enriching for him. Let's put it that way. So thanks again there, Jeff, and thank you again for running the net next week, and we'll catch up with you soon. So over to you for your final there, Bob. November 4 X-Ray Alpha Tango in the group. Mike 0 Alpha Uncle George.
Zero Alpha Uncle George, November 4 X-Ray Alpha Tango. Well, both Jeffs brought up memories of people that I knew in the past. One was Ron Rogan, G4GKO, and when he passed away, I can't remember the name of the organization, but he was a member of your monitoring team in the UK. I don't know whether he was head of it, but I know he was a member of it. And he also involved, before he retired, was involved with cable laying. And we used to have big discussions because one of the cables that he was very familiar with runs very close to where the SJDXA, the South Jersey place that I had been a member of. I've given up most of my memberships here because I don't drive anymore, so it's difficult for me to get to them. So I'm dropping a lot of them. But we used to talk about that because he knew exactly where that cable came ashore, and I went to that point to see where this cable was supposed to come ashore. And the second one, the other Jeff mentioned FL Digi. Well, David Freeze was a member of the Cape May Club. He was in the Coast Guard. And was part of that club that I was a member. I still am a member of that club, but I don't get down there anymore either. But Dave Fraze is the one that was the originator of FL Digi. So I am a bit familiar with it, even though I don't use it, or I haven't used it recently. I am familiar with it. And other than that, I wrote down 28.4 for Tom, and I'll have to check when 10 meters is open, I'll have to check that frequency out and see if I hear anyone on there. And if that happens to be Tom, I certainly will put out a call, invoice. Okay, and thanks for running the net again, Jeff. And we look forward to meeting the other Jeff next weekend as net controller. M0AUG with the group, November 4 X-Ray Alpha Tango.
November 4 X-Ray Alpha Tango in the group, M0AG returning. Yeah, that's fine, and appreciate your contribution this evening, Bob. It's good to have an evening like this where we start to reminisce on how we all started in this wonderful hobby, etc. And just before closing the net, I think we should all remember an amateur who's passed away recently, who we've probably all worked in the time, Kevin in Gibraltar, Zulu Bravo 2 Golf India, became Silent Key very recently, and I've worked him many times, and I'm sure Jeff has as well. And he always used to figure in some of the right apps that used to be in Practical Wireless as well. So R.I.P. Kevin, it's been good to work you over the years. So on that somber note, I'm going to close the Denby Dale net for this week. Thank you to Kev, and also to Laura and to Roger who are listening in on the YouTube, and any other listeners. I hope you've enjoyed the net this evening, and we look forward to catching up with you next Thursday. This is M0AG closing the Denby Dale Radio Society digital net for another week, and have a good week, everybody, and 7-3.